Earning a college degree in Iowa could come with a debt of tens of thousands of dollars. And raising a family could mean childcare costs that could equal your mortgage payment. How are Iowans supposed to pay the bills? And what is the Senate's role in making life more affordable? Welcome back to the second half hour of our debate between the four Democrats running in the United States Senate. Caring and educating for our families, that'll be the focus for this next half hour. All right, candidates, since you're talking about Joni Ernst here, let's do another show of hands thing here. She is part of this bipartisan effort in Congress to come up with $200 million to help families afford diapers. You've all been through this process of diapering. As you well know, these days it can be $800 to $1,000 a year for one little infant if your child goes through like 6 to 8 diapers, which we know they do. So show of hands, good project for the senator to be part of?
Absolutely.
2 no's. Were you yes or no?
Well, we need to do other things.
Okay.
I would not focus there. I would focus on things like paying people a living minimum wage so they can afford to buy diapers, making us have more, having more unions, stronger unions, because that increases our middle class, that strengthens our economy. Investing in education so that people can earn more. Subsidizing daycare so that people can afford daycare and it's not breaking them, a universal single-payer healthcare system so the cost of medical premiums, co-pays, deductibles, and co-insurance doesn't break people. People can afford diapers if we make these other investments that we need to make.
Mr. Morrow, diaper focus?
Well, we got an emergency going on right now. People need to have those monies right now. People can't go buy diapers. I'm hearing from women that can't go buy formula for their kids, and that's why we can't use the unemployment as our only source of providing monies to people. We need a universal basic income that gets to those that weren't employed before that don't have any money coming into their homes to make sure we're meeting the catastrophe. We need the right kind of person that's dealt with catastrophes like this, that has the business acumen, the financial acumen to deal with that. And right now, people are going without. So we can do all those things that Kimberly talked about. She's spot on. We need to do all that. Today, we need to make sure we get money in people's pockets so they can buy diapers, buy formula, pay their rents, and do all the other things they need to be doing.
Let's broaden this out, Ms. Greenfield, to child care here. As you know, it can be $10,000 to $12,000 a year in our state to afford child care, and then it gets more and more expensive here if you have a couple of kids that you have to try to push this through. As you well know, we also deal with areas that don't have available and affordable child care. As this all kind of gets exposed even more through this COVID-19 crisis, as families have additional kids they weren't planning on perhaps home already now looking for child care, what do you see the government's role in making more affordable child care?
Well, thanks, Dave. You know, as a mother of 4, and certainly after my first husband died, I became a single mother with a 13-month-old and another one on the way. And childcare is really, really personal to me. I needed it. I relied on it to get back on my feet and go back to college and start that very first job. And of course, we have a childcare crisis right here in Iowa. Before COVID, the Iowa Women's Foundation has done a lot of research and have found we have about 350,000 spaces short. Post-COVID, we have, I understand, about 1,000 of our daycare centers and child care centers that are closed. And so it's going to take a lot to rebuild that child care system so that we have the access. But now we also have the affordability. And I will tell you that part of the reason we need direct payments to all workers is so that they can decide what they need to spend it on. If they need diapers, if they need to pay the bills, pay the rent, put food on the table, milk in the refrigerator, pay child care, those are things that they can decide at their kitchen tables like we all have decided at our kitchen tables.
Mr. Franken, is a tax credit the solution? What's the way to make this more affordable?
For child care.
For child care.
Well, go back to the diaper thing. I think in light of today's news, we should see if the Republican National Committee has the contract for those diapers. Sorry. So the military has the gold standard for child care. Now, it's more complicated these days, especially if you're a special needs parent, to care for a child at home. But the military does it quite well. We pay and ensure we have training for our providers like we would a school teacher. We have the facilities that are clean, spacious, inspected, and dietary options that help children of all religions and all health needs. That's the gold standard. And it's a sliding scale of what you pay. What we shouldn't have is what my niece is going through here in the state of Iowa. She is reliant on a distant family member for her primary care while she's a nurse and her husband's working. This is an issue. This should not be America. So whether it's a wraparound program with schools, but there's a USDA program to boost child care options in rural America, we need to make, this is a quality of life issue. This is right alongside housing and school and a community central place, a grocery store, a clinic. This is necessary if we want young people to move back to Iowa, and we need to be the gold standard of health care.
Ms. Graham, apparently the average child care worker in our country makes $10.01 per hour, according to payscale.com. A lot of responsibilities on these workers. Obviously, they don't make very much money. Parents don't want to pay a lot more and can't afford to pay a lot more. So there's the rub. So how do you solve that?
Right. So most of us remember Senator Tom Harkin. He pushed something called the Americans with Disabilities Act up a very steep hill for a very long time, and he finally got it passed along with the help of a lot of people and a lot of activists in the people with disabilities community. We need something similar for childcare. This is a huge problem for this country, and other developed nations, frankly, do it so much better because they recognize that this is an investment that we have to make in regular people. The United States spends or invests about 0.6% of our GDP on programs for families and children. Other developed nations spend 2 to 3% of their GDP on programs for families and children. You know, there's that saying, if you want to know someone's value, show me their checkbook. And the checkbook of the United States, unfortunately, doesn't indicate that we really value and want to invest in children and families the way that we need to. So I've actually been, sketching out the American Child Care Act, which I hope to put forth in the United States Senate and push that boulder up a hill and eventually get that passed into law. It would call for paid parental leave. I just had a single mom a few months ago who had to go back to work as a waitress a week after giving birth because there is no paid leave for new mothers or new parents who've adopted a child in this country. That's ridiculous. People shouldn't have to go back to work or lose their housing because they can't afford their rent that quickly. It would also call for training of child care workers, for existing child care workers or daycare owners. They would be able to just transition into the system. It would call for paying these professionals like the professionals that they are. These are the most vulnerable people in our nation, children, infants, toddlers that can't tell you if they're not being taken care of properly, right? And yet we're not valuing those that care for them. And I envision a system where we subsidize, e.g. invest in both in-home daycares and daycare centers. It would need to be a patchwork of things, not just build a bunch of daycare centers, but existing child care centers, existing in-home daycares, and then pay these people enough so the income is that of a middle-class professional, which is what it should be. And then you will get more people wanting to provide daycare when daycare workers are valued with dollars, because that's how we communicate. That's one of many ways we communicate what we value in this country. So we need to value the workers that do this work.
All right, let's put you all on the spot as parents, since you're all parents.
Well, Dave, I'd love to answer that question, though. First, can I answer that question?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Is that all right?
Sure. We started the diaper one, you kind of folded in there, but go ahead.
Sorry. All right.
Go ahead.
Well,
You had the most time in the first segment, man. I'm trying to keep this even. So please make it short, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so really quick, 'cause I had twins. I remember lugging two halter things into daycare for a long time. Double the diapers, double the formula, double the fun with daycare as well. In fact, I left the classroom because I couldn't afford to be a teacher and pay for all those expenses and went and built a business. But to answer the question, I'll do it really quickly. We need to provide a subsidy for daycare workers, especially in rural communities where we have deserts. That'll help us make sure we're paying daycare workers more money. They'll provide more workers and more opportunities for daycares.
All right, now let me do the lightning question here so we can put you on spot as parents here. All right, let's just go left to right here. Actually, we'll start with you, Mr. Franken. I think it's yours to go first. As a parent, what was the biggest challenge you have had, and how do you overcome it?
Well, I was a little bit unique because I moved 28 times in my career. So there's a lot of issues associated with that. But I think taking a special needs child through a series of different schools and adopting whatever the state education plan was available, medical, changing that all the time was, so that mine was rather unique, I would expect. But ultimately, I was pleased by having a great spouse to help me out.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Ms. Graham, you raised your son?
Yes, and I was a single mom from the time he was 7 years old. However, his paternal grandparents were just a few blocks away, and I owe them everything. Thank you, Bruce and Betty. And they were there after school so that I could work. My son would go to their house after school. I was extremely lucky. You know, very few people have that, where your child can just go down the block and be with their fantastic grandparents. And so I didn't have that disadvantage. I would say for me, it was just the economic issue of, you know, attorneys for kids, unfortunately, don't make the really big bucks. And so being a one-income household, trying to pay my own medical insurance, my own premiums, deductibles, co-pays, you know, all the bills myself, that was probably the biggest challenge.
Mr. Morrell, of course, you had twins, so that's already a double challenge here. But what would you say the biggest challenge was?
Well, the biggest challenge was that I promised my newborns when they were first born that I would make sure I provided for them, and that anything they wanted to do, that they could shoot for the moon. And as a teacher, I found out I was going to be able to do that. And there's so many families out there in this state, say across this country, that are wrestling with the same thing. So I left the job that I loved and went out and built a business so I can provide for my family. But there's a lot of others that haven't been able to make that kind of move. And people are out there struggling, trying to raise their families, whether it's daycare, getting their diapers, getting their formulas, sending their kids to college. And that's been the biggest challenge, and it's still a big challenge for families today.
Okay, once kids get into school, that's our next question here. Emily Chisholm.
Hey, wait, I didn't get to answer that one.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell folks a dirty little secret, and that is.
And with 4 children, you deserve it.
Yeah, that is getting enough sleep. It is a hard challenge, and getting sleep means you can be a better parent. And I remember when I was a single mom and I was working full-time, there were nights that I actually went to bed with the clothes on I was going to wear the next day just to get that extra 15 minutes of sleep. So I think for parents, it's take care of yourself, and then you'll do a great job as being a parent.
So you're promising efficiency here. All right, let's get to Emily Chisholm's question. She messaged this in on Facebook. Iowa used to lead, but has fallen behind. What actions will you take to support teachers with a deserved salary and then the incentive to stay in that often thankless positions? The number I found here for the average teacher is about $55,000 right now, Mr. Franken. Is that enough for teachers? If not, would you bump it up to what?
Well, I mentioned when I kicked this off that I'm a beneficiary of Iowa schools, public schools. We used to be great. I mean, the #1 in the nation. And we showed our appreciation by paying our teachers top scale. And the teacher was the equivalent of the vice president of a bank. It was a mid-grade lawyer. It was a business owner income. It's those we really looked up to for good reason. They generated the success of our progeny. So $55K, no, because if you do the math, that person's really taking home about 40. And if you throw, depending on the health care associated with that, deduct another 8,000, and it goes down from there. So here's a story. I'm in Fort Dodge. A teacher says, I'm wondering when we can get a better pay scale, because I would really like to have a pet, but I'm not so sure I can afford it. Imagine that. Imagine that in America. So no, it's not enough. I bumped that up another 20K. And you know what? We can afford it. We can shrink the size of classes. We can abide by federal guidelines. This is job #1 in a community. Educate the next generation. generation.
Ms. Graham, he wants to bump it up 20,000. What do you think?
Absolutely. You know, software engineers are important, but software engineers typically make a lot more than that on average. And I think that teaching children is arguably every bit as important, more important than some job like that. Again, we value people by putting a dollar number on their job. And what we are saying about the value of teachers is not appropriate. They should be paid far more. But we also need to focus on this important piece. And that is starting salaries, because the average may be $55,000 a year, but that is not the average starting salary by any stretch. And I don't know the exact number, but I believe it's in the 30s here in Iowa. And that's ridiculous to ask somebody to go and pay for presumably usually expensive education, have maybe a lot of student loan debt, and come out and work really hard with our most vulnerable citizens and pay you $35,000 a year. That's just not enough. We also need to better fund all of our schools, because schools should be an equalizer of opportunity, and they are not, because they are not equally funded. So we've got to fix that, and if that's going to take federal investment and federal funds to equalize the investment and actually support better the schools with more at-risk kids, then we need to do that too.
Mr. Morrow, what would you do with teacher pay?
Well, we definitely need to increase it. I remember when I left the classroom, I was making about $24,000 a year, so a long way from 55 or 75. I like Senator Kamala Harris's plan for increasing the pay for teachers across this country. It's a great plan. But we also need to talk about we need more teachers. I taught one time with 36 students in the classroom, and that's not fair to any teacher. That's not fair to students or parents or communities. So we need to have more teachers. We need to do more teacher training to bring more teachers into communities, more teachers of color into our urban centers, more male teachers of color in elementary schools. We need to make sure we talk about the minority impact that's going on with education. Joni Ernst, Donald Trump, Betsy DeVos have sold out this country when it comes to education, especially public education. Our own state, Kim Reynolds, has not helped either to invest in our schools in a meaningful way. I want to make tomorrow better than today for our teachers, for our students, and for our future.
Do you have an average dollar figure? What should a teacher make?
I think the average dollar should be about $65,000. I think as you make your way through, you should be able to get to close to $80,000 or more. But we cap out teachers. There's a time where you actually hit the ceiling, whether you got a master's degree or even a doctorate degree, you eventually hit a ceiling and you can't advance anymore. That's one of the only professions where that happens to you.
All right, let's bump this up to the next level here. Let's talk about college. We had an emailed question from Michael Hayden. He had talked about the concept of, do you support the idea of loan forgiveness? And what do you plan, if you do, and what do you plan on doing with all the folks who graduated from college but they already paid off their bills, thinking that they may get kind of the short end of this? As you know, this was kind of an issue throughout the Democratic caucus process that we went through. Ms. Greenfield.
Well, Dave, everybody needs the opportunity to gain the skills and to, earn a living wage, to start their small businesses, to have their American dream, and it starts with education. And, I was a product of progressive leaders. It was Governor Bob Ray who invested heavily into college. And I went to Iowa Lakes Community College up in Esterville, and, I got a job at Pizza Hut. And I made enough money to pay my books, to pay my rent, and pay my tuition, and get a beer on Friday night. And I came out of that first year debt-free. And so my focus will be on making sure that community college, trade schools, those kinds of opportunities are debt-free, so that everyone gets off on the right foot and is not saddled with enormous amounts of debt. But I also want to talk about earning while you learn, which is apprenticeship programs, and making sure that we're growing those and encouraging folks to enter an apprenticeship program. That's one way to come out debt-free.
So you would get rid of, if you have a loan, would you wipe it out?
Oh, I think that we absolutely have to have some loan forgiveness programs, particularly for those professions that we have a great need for, and in locations that we have a great need. If we need teachers in locations, if we need healthcare providers in locations, we certainly should be looking at loan forgiveness programs.
But you would do kind of specific targeted, right? I just want to make sure I'm following you here, right?
Well, if you're
Depending on the industry, you're not doing a blanket, if you have a loan, it's gone. It sort of depends. Is that fair?
Well, my focus is going to be on community college, trade schools, and making sure that our students get those first few years out and underneath them, and that they're debt-free.
And I think I did not allow you to answer the teacher pay question, right? Do you have a magic figure? It's 55 now. What do you think the average should be?
I travel all over the state. I've done over 100 meetings around the state. One of them was down in Fremont County, and a young teacher came to our event. And they're really struggling. I think they were making in the mid-30s. and yet they had about $32,000 in student loans, and it just made it very difficult to even rent an apartment. They were living with their parents, and yet they came back home to Fremont County because they loved their rural lifestyle, they loved their community, and they wanted to be close to family. So we certainly have to talk about how we can raise those wages. One of the best ways to do it is through collective bargaining. Make sure that teachers have a voice at the table for wages, for benefits, and for their students.
The idea of tuition free, does everybody want to go totally tuition free?
No, we can't do that. I mean, we can have some advantages. If you're in a STEM program that's going to contribute to climate change initiatives, a good example. Healthcare, good example. Areas where we need more workers and the visa programs can't supply those workers. That's a perfect example. But you just can't blanket get rid of these loans. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the taxpayer. I go back to that, the future, the challenges associated with this. We're talking about $1.4 trillion. So there are other programs. So a voluntary national service program to give you a leg up on a compensatory feedback when you do go to a follow-on school. I do think that trade school and community college ought to be federally funded. Yes, we need this in America. But we should work hard, get university professors, others together to talk about how to reduce tuition costs. This is a great example to study this. We are still educating, and yet we don't have all the infrastructure that we presently have in some of our colleges. Let's look to see how we can learn. Let's think versus spend. And this is a great example. There's other things to do, to expand on Pell Grants, to the loans that are out there. Let's drive them down to the prime rate, or let's drive them down to zero. There's no reason why the federal government should be making money off people going to school. And as Ms. Graham said, when I went to college, I worked at a hog kill plant. Those hog kill wages haven't stayed flat. They've actually gone down in real terms. That's the problem in rural America. The wage stagnation hasn't kept up with the cost of college or any aspect of living, including housing.
Ms. Graham, during the 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton had made the point that during the primary phase of it, that she did not think that the country should be paying for Donald Trump's kids to go to school, right, to go to college. Mm-hmm. So essentially, no, not all tuition should be free. Yeah. Is she right or wrong?
Well, I believe that if you have a moral and wealthy nation, that you should make investments in education, and that includes debt-free trade school. I agree with Ms. Greenfield about, apprenticeship programs are fantastic, and those generally you're paid to learn a trade while you're doing those. But if there are trade schools that typically have tuition, that should be debt-free. So should public colleges and universities be debt-free, whether we expand Pell Grants, whether we simply make them so-called tuition-free. I don't care how we get there. We just need to get to the point where when you go and invest your time, which is, and a lot of your hard work, a lot of people seem to sort of treat college like, oh, you're just goofing off. Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I worked hard and graduated with honors, and I took my education very seriously, and I think most students do. And when you go and invest your time in education, you should come out ahead. You should come out with skills or with an education that enables you to contribute more to our society and to your bottom line, ultimately, your pocketbook. And when you leave with a boatload of debt, you're behind the eight ball. That is not making an investment in people, and we've got to start making investments in people. I really feel the pain deeply and personally of the person who said, oh, I don't feel like that's fair, the person who, I forget the name, who wrote in with the question. When I left law school, and this included my undergraduate debt, I should say I'm a first-generation college student, parents divorced when I was 13, I've been working ever since, so you're looking at who paid for college and law school, and I worked all along, all throughout college and law school. I left law school with $80,000 in student loan debt. Fine. I figured, I was married at the time, two-income household, we'll knock this thing out in, a few years if we just tighten our belts. Well, life happens, right? I ended up representing kids and families. I don't make a huge salary. I ended up getting divorced. Part of my income left my household. And so I went into income-based repayments. Student loan company will say, fine, make income-based repayments. I've made those now for 20 years, on time, every month. I now owe $240,000 in student loan debt. I hope everybody at home is sitting down. And people don't understand that this is not uncommon. I mean, my amount may be uncommon because I went to Drake University Law School, very expensive private school, but this is not uncommon. I have a friend who's an RN. She left nursing school with $20,000 in debt 20 years ago. She now owes $60,000 in student loan debt. So we have got to take a firm stance here and stop letting these for-profit corporations make these obscene amount of profits on the backs of people that are trying to do the right thing, going and getting an education, and going out and helping people. We got doctors, nurses, attorneys for kids, people that you may think, oh, you make so much money, you'll just pay that off at no time. Not all of us make that kind of money, and we've got to start investing in education and in people in this country, people over profits.
All right, Mr. Morrow, tuition free for everybody?
College should be debt-free, and nobody should have the experiences that Kimberly and other people are having today. So if you take out student loans, it should be interest-free. We shouldn't be tacking on penalties to people. Help them service the principal only. And when we have trouble like this in times of pandemics, that we're allowed to have forgiveness going on, forgiveness payments going on. To make that happen, allow students to restructure that debt. We don't allow them to do that. We don't allow them to include that in bankruptcy. We'll do that for Donald Trump the 3 times that he filed for bankruptcy and get rid of some of his debt. But we're going to chase a young student for $20,000 of college debt. Donald Trump and Joni Ernst and Betsy DeVos have turned their back on these kids. We got to talk about the affordability of college too. And I know we're coming up on a break, but we want to make sure we're talking about the affordability of college. It's not affordable anymore, because we purposely and intentionally are not investing in schools. We're limiting Pell Grants. We're making it tougher for communities to send kids to school. And we need to have the right kind of senator that's going to make sure we're going to make tomorrow better than today for our college students.
Hey, Dave, I have just one more comment on this. Another thing that's really important to understand about student loan debt is that, like so many things, like we're seeing with the COVID-19 pandemic, that this disproportionately harms black and brown people in our country because they tend to end up with disproportionately large amounts of student debt compared to others.
All right, final point here. 2/3 of the way here. We got to hit a break here. Hold that thought. When we come back, the one question you still want answered, and what you will do for the nominee. Just some of the questions we need to get into in the next half hour of this U.S. Senate debate. Stay with us.